It looks like Tennessee will be getting some new drip. The Titans teased these sick black helmets that'll be coming in 2023 this summer. If you like them, if you're hyped for the new helmets, like the video and let's get this thing going. What's good? Welcome into Titans Today. We are rounding out draft weekend. It is now Tuesday. Still talking about it though because Titans draft was absolutely a hot topic. Will Levis, no receiver until the 7th round. That's all right. We're going to talk about receivers that the Titans could go out and get in free agency, maybe a trade. We'll hit some targets on today's show. Before we get started, make sure you hit the sub button. I think we have proved ourselves. You guys had content coming at you all weekend. About 3 videos a day, maybe. Every draft pick, every rumor, every little bit of analysis. We made sure you guys knew about it. So make sure you hit the sub button. Let's grow this channel. Again, the bigger we grow, the more content y'all get. Hit the sub button. To give you a little bit of a recap about the draft, what the Titans did, remember, this is the first time Tennessee drafted only on one side of the ball since the NFL moved to 7 rounds in 1994. They did not address the defense in the draft, which kind of took a couple people by surprise, but it wasn't planned. They also traded up with Arizona to draft Will Levis in the 2nd round, which was also not planned because I don't think anybody expected Levis to fall to the 2nd round. And then to tie things together, why we're talking about receivers, targets they could go get in free agency or through a trade, is because they drafted Colton Dowell in the 7th round with pick number 228. But they neglected the receiver position until the very end. Now, they did sign some UDFA guys some UDFA wide receivers, but I think there's still some conversations to be had about maybe some bigger name receivers or some guys to go out and get to bring in some veteran experience to the wide receiver room. This is a recap just to show you the draft selections before we move forward. Peter Skoronski, Will Levis, Tyjae Spears, Josh Wiley, Jalen Duncan, and Colton Dowell. Those were the 6 draft choices the Titans made this past weekend. And now we move forward with UDFAs. If you're curious about UDFAs, we did put a video out on that on Sunday. You can see all the guys the Titans went out and signed, and they got to work pretty quickly, grabbed some good additions, but now we look forward to the receiver room. Rand Carthon did mention about the draft. He said, it honestly just dawned on me about 30 minutes ago that it was all offense. We were just playing the board, but it wasn't a design plan or anything. So, like I said, I don't really know what was going on in the war room in Tennessee. Doesn't look like they did either. They were just kind of playing it as it came. Again, I think they had to call an audible when Will Levis was still on the board, and that kind of just changed things around. Clearly, they had no clue that they even drafted all offense in the draft until after the draft. Grade the Titans draft class down in the comment section. I know I've been asking you guys this question a lot throughout the past couple days, but y'all, your opinions tend to change the longer you think about it, right? Like maybe you're kind of growing on Will Levis, or maybe the longer you think about it, the more you hate it. I don't know. So I'm going to ask the question again. Grade the Titans draft class down in the comment section. Give it an A, B, C, D, or F. Feel free to elaborate. I do read the comments. All right, let's look at the current state of the wide receiver room. You've got Treylon Burks, Nick Westbrook-Akine, and Kyle Phillips, right? Those are your big 3. Racey McMath, Jacob Copeland, Colton Dowell, that draft pick. Chris Moore, who you picked up in free agency about a week before the draft. No, I'm not sold. I can say it 1,000 times. I'm not sold. Treylon Burks, I'm excited to see in year 2. Barring no injuries. If he can avoid the injury bug this year, I think you do see a lot from Burks. I think he kind of pops off, almost like he's got something to prove to make sure. Remember, he's hearing all the wide receiver conversations too. Probably thinking, what, I'm not good enough for y'all? Watch. I think he pops off this year. Same thing with Kyle Phillips. I think you're going to see a little more from him. But when I say I'm not sold, there was no movement in free agency. There's no vet here that, like, really could bring things together. I think that's what we're looking for. Colton Dowell, a good little pickup. In 2022, he had 67 receptions, 1,000 yards. He averaged 15 and a half yards per catch, and he had 6 touchdowns. So this is not a bad move. That is not what I'm saying. I think Colton Dowell will be a good addition to the receiver room, but I still think it's lacking some. I think there's maybe one big piece that is missing, and I think they should have addressed the wide receiver position earlier in the draft. I know they didn't talk about it, and we'll talk about what Mike Vrabel says about that position, but I still think there were a lot of good receivers on the board that maybe should have been at least looked at. If you agree, if you think they should have drafted a receiver earlier than the 7th round, type Y for yes in the comment section. If you think they did the right thing waiting till the 7th to grab Dowell, type N for no. Let me know in the comment section. We are now going to talk about some guys that the Titans could go out and get through free agency or maybe some trades. I know there's a lot of talk about names like DeAndre Hopkins, who we will talk about, but maybe it's a smaller guy who's been in the league for a couple years, and he can bring that veteran presence to the receiver room that doesn't really have that, unless you look at Chris Moore, and there's other options. We're going to talk about them today. Mike Vrabel did acknowledge the lack of looking at a receiver in the draft, and he says this. Hang on, he said a lot. Going into Monday, it will be, we're going to continue to explore and find ways to improve our roster and make it as competitive as possible. So on Monday, it will be. He means yes. So this was yesterday. We felt good if, for us to add a receiver, we would have had to come far off of our board at these certain levels. That's what I'm happy about. You guys are going to trust us. We're going to put players in here that are going to help us win. Free agency is not over. They are going to let us sign free agents Monday. They will. Vrabel said after the draft, right? Free agency is going to go all the way up until the season starts. There will be players on other teams that will become available Monday, and we'll take a look, and we'll continue to look for trade possibilities and opportunities. Woo! Okay, so he said a lot there. Trying to convince the media that, yes, they're still looking at wide receivers. Bottom line, they're not done. Hopefully. I hope I believe him on that they are not done with the receiver room. It tells you right there, they really didn't plan on going to get a receiver. He said they had to come off their board. If they were to go get a receiver earlier, they would have had to neglect their plan and come way off base to go get a receiver. So maybe they're cooking something up for free agency or trades, and we'll talk about some of the guys they could be looking at. You see 3 guys on the screen right now. These are free agent targets that the Titans could go out and sign. You've got DeMarcus Robinson, who is 28. Again, a little bit of a veteran experience here. He had his best season with the Ravens actually last year. He had 48 catches for 458 yards. You've got Jarvis Landry, who is 30, a little bit older than the other 2 guys. He only played 9 games last season due to injury, but he would be a good veteran slot. I just don't know if you want to bring in a guy who had such a down year because of injury. He started off hot with the Saints, just couldn't stay healthy, and then came back and wasn't the same. And then you've got Kenny Golladay, and I know people aren't high up on him. Things just really didn't work out for him in New York, but he was a killer receiver in 2018 and 2019. Can he get back to that state of play? I don't know. I know Tennessee not completely sold on bringing in vets because of the track record of having vets in Tennessee. It just really doesn't work out. So I don't know that it would be any different for Kenny Golladay, but these are all veteran receivers that probably wouldn't cost too much. Now, are they the answer to the problem? I can't say that they are. We'll talk about some more wide receiver targets here who could be involved in a trade, and now you see a little bit more. You can probably get behind these trades a little bit more than you could with the guys in free agency. Corey Davis, you see 2 Jets guys up here, clearly because of what's going on with Aaron Rodgers and them bringing in Allen Lazard and Mecole Hardman. There were trade rumors about Corey Davis prior to the draft, but now they could just cut him and he could become a free agent and sign with the Titans. It would be a homecoming for him. We've heard so many things about how great of a teammate Corey Davis is, so maybe that's what you're looking for. If you're trying to get a veteran receiver in your receiver room, you're looking for a guy who is a leader, and it is a very clear, there are no questions about his character. He is a great teammate, and that might be the type of chemistry you're looking to add to this young receiver room in Tennessee. You've also got another Jet, Denzel Mims, who actually asked for a trade last year but didn't get it. He is only 25, so he's younger, but he still has the veteran experience. He didn't quite have a great showing in New York, but maybe a change of environment works out for him. Clearly, he wanted a trade. He didn't get it. Maybe if he's playing somewhere he wants to be, you see a little bit more production from him. And then, of course, we're going to round it out with DeAndre Hopkins because we've got to. That's the biggest name out there right now concerning wide receiver trades. Look, it would be sweet, but the problem is, working out a deal, I don't know that it gets done. He maybe potentially goes for a third-round pick. I don't know that you want to do that after this draft that you just traded a third-round pick, or next year's third-round pick for Will Levis. You're losing more draft capital. Not only that, he's got 2 years remaining on his current deal, and he has a $30.75 million cap hit in 2023. He's about to be 31. And let me just say this, he came out and said he's not going anywhere. So I know you can only take it with a grain of salt because the business is business and it changes so quickly and you really don't know what to believe because you hear one thing and then the exact opposite thing happens. So he's saying he's staying in Arizona, but I mean, if the price is right and they can figure out a deal and maybe he gets on a team where they're actually a Super Bowl contender, he might be down for a trade. I don't know that he ends up in Tennessee, though. Name a wide receiver you want the Titans to sign or trade for. Let me know down in the comment section. It could be any of those 6 guys that I named, or it could be a guy I haven't talked about on the show before. As always, we appreciate y'all for watching. We'll see y'all soon. Tighten up.